Hello. As none of you know, I am a D&D player. That is accurate. Factually accurate. I play D&D. I have DM'd. I have been a player. I'm not very good at D&D, but you can't judge me for that. Today I'm going to be reading some hot takes off of Reddit. Yes, I'm technically stealing content from every other D&D YouTuber, but I can do what I want. It's either this or making things I like. Am I right? I don't like things. No, things are boring. Anything I would like to film costs a lot of money, and I'm broke because just am. Don't judge me. Ew. It should state in the rules that it is mandatory to shower 1/2 day in advance. Yes, I agree. You should be forced to shower. If you don't shower before a D&D session, the cops should come to your door and shoot you. Okay, maybe not shoot you, but throw you in jail for a life sentence. I agree. Yeah. Most TTRPG players are selfish and want to be the protagonist. The best games happen when each player is more concerned about everyone else having fun, which is rare. Well, yeah. I think every player is guilty of this at least one point in their life. But I think a lot of them grow out of it. And then what's left is the problem players and that guys. But yeah, I tend to agree. Most players experience this at least one point in their career. But I think eventually people grow out of it unless they're that guy. Critical Role is harmful to the community because new players who learn about the game and the genre there expect their first game in DM to be up to that almost unattainable quality. Yeah. I completely agree. A lot of players just expect the GM to be Matt Mercer. And if you don't use a Mercerism, they're like, no, you're supposed to say, how are you gonna do this? And it's just like, that's impossible. Like, it's not impossible to say that, but I don't want to say it, so shut up. But, yeah, it's impossible to get to that level with a new DM. Railroading is fine unless you actually start invalidating the player's choices or making the choices for them. It's not really an issue. I would say railroading is invalidating the player's choices, though. Isn't that the definition of railroading? Like, how is it? It is railroading, right? Unless you actually start invalidating the player's choices. Railroading would be invalidating the player's choices. Like, if they want to leave and go to the public bath, but then a king rises from the water, like, that would be invalidating their choices. I don't get this one. A lot of people should play other tabletop games. Agreed. I do tend to agree. Not as hot anymore, but 4th edition was pretty good, and criticism at the time focused on the wrong things. Hotter take, 4th edition should be made on open source and freely available online. I never played 4th edition. I got into D&D during 5th edition, and I want to play 4th edition because I heard there was some things. Like, I heard alignment actually mattered. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but yeah, a hot take of mine is that alignment should be fixed in D&D 5e. Like, they should fix it because it's kind of broken. It has no effect on the game. And I don't mean broken like it's overpowered. I mean broken like it's useless. Like, yeah, I guess it's good as a guideline, but it should be able to change. And if your alignment is something, you shouldn't be able to do something that would be the opposite alignment. Like, if you're a lawful good paladin, you shouldn't be able to summon a neutral evil demon to murder an orphan. I agree that 4th edition should be made in open source because I want to play it, but I can't. My hot take is that what's your hot take threads contribute little in the way of valuable discussion. Well, screw you. I'm trying to make content, and I would rather just do that in peace. So that was very rude. Your gag character isn't funny. You're not funny. You're just that guy. Well, I agree. Sometimes. Sometimes. It depends. I had a character who was really rich and he just acted like a god. Some of my players found that funny. Some of my fellow players found it not funny. I plan on revisiting this character and making him different, like less godly, and only treats you like dirt if you treat him like dirt. He's like a god who needs to build his following. But it depends on the players you're playing with, is what I'm trying to get at here. It depends. For this guy, obviously, don't make a gag character who's super rich and steals for fun, because he hates you. Here we go. Hopefully these aren't too hot. Point buy should be mandatory. No! 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 I disagree. Point buy is garbage. It's garbage. You should have to roll. I hate point buy. It sucks. If I wanted to buy points, I would play Skyrim, okay? I would play a video game where point buy is mandatory. You can't do anything else. I don't want to play those games. That's why I'm playing D&D. Point buy shouldn't be mandatory. DMs shouldn't fudge rolls in favor of the PCs or... I hate point buy. DMs shouldn't fudge rolls or in favor of the PCs or change rules regarding the PC's capabilities on the fly. I disagree. If it makes the story more interesting and... Oh, my camera's upside down. My bad, guys. If it makes the story more interesting, I completely disagree. I think the DM should be able to do what he wants, or he or she wants. Like, fudge rolls in favor of them. If it makes the story more interesting, sure. Like, if it makes it more fun, because D&D isn't about following the rules, because the DM makes the rules. It's about having fun with your friends and making a good story. All of you together. It's not the DM story, it's not the player's story. It's everyone's story. D&D is very narrow in the kinds of games it's good at facilitating. Your steampunk, modern day, sci-fi, gritty realism, and horror campaigns would be likely better served elsewhere. I agree. Yeah. It's not the best for adapting to a different time period, but it can still work. Yeah. But yeah, they would be better elsewhere. Rules lawyers are sometimes your friends. I agree. Like, I have a rules lawyer upstairs right now. My brother has him over. He's from my D&D group. When I was a DM, he was really helpful. Like, sure, sometimes I would change rules and he would say, hey, that's not allowed. But then I said, oh, I changed it. And he'd be like, oh, okay. But yeah, he was a rules lawyer. Like, he did pipe in with the rules and it was good. I liked it. It was helpful, a tool. Yes, I used him. He was my slave. I used him as a tool. Min-maxing isn't inherently bad. I agree. Min-maxing isn't inherently bad. We should have abandoned the original 6 ability scores and come up with a new set at least 2 editions ago. I don't agree. I like the 6 ability scores. Maybe add more? Like, maybe add another? Like, I wouldn't be opposed to adding another. But, no, I think the 6 that we have pretty much are pretty good. A single D20 roll is the worst possible system for any TTRPG that has resolving challenges. I disagree. I like the D20 a lot. I really, really like the D20 rules because it can range anywhere from horrible to terrible to bad to okay to good to really good to great. Like, there's so many outcomes that your DM could decide, and I think that's really good. Apart from that, I think it's great. Level-based advancement is a lot of fun, and no other system does it better unless you count Pathfinder as separate from D&D. Pathfinder is separate as D&D, you fool. It's not the same game. Well, it's similar, but it's not the same. In which case, maybe Pathfinder does it better. Yeah, okay. Whatever, man. Players earn roles. With remembering things, it's asking questions. With everything else, it's by communicating goals and means. And if the situation means that a failure or success is given, they should not roll. The DM should just let it happen. In the case of an automatic failure, it helps if the DM tells the player some version of why their character can't do a thing. For example, your character is a bumpkin from the swamps. They do not have any clue about political... Oh, okay. I see. I trailed off there, but that's because I couldn't pronounce a word. I'm okay, I can't pronounce words. I learned a lot of words by reading them. I disagree. Failure, success is given. They should roll, because for all you know, they roll like a natural 20, and the DM is like, you know, this would have normally failed on a natural 20, but they're so excited, so I'm going to throw them a bone, because I know not a natural 20 isn't always a success, but I like having natural 20s always be a success, because it, in my opinion, it spices up the game a little. Yeah, okay, well. I think the game is better with alignment and it being supported. I think the biggest issue is the books never taught people to use it properly. I agree. I already mentioned that earlier, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, I agree. Standard array and point buy suck outside of an organized event. Real men roll. Point buy, I agree with. I hate it. If I wanted to point buy, I would play something else. Like, I would play a video game. Standard array I'm okay with. You gotta really make your character really fast. You have horrible luck. Standard array, go ahead. I like it. It's good enough. Orcs are evil and don't represent any real-life groups. Anyone who thinks otherwise needs to check their own biases and stop looking for isms where they don't exist. Evil races need to exist to the point of providing conflict and giving the players something evil to overcome. Okay. So this is saying that orcs are evil. Orcs normally are played as an evil group in D&D, which is completely fine because orcs in most culture are evil, but there can still be isms in the game, like racism against orcs. That's fully possible, and it's actually, I think it's good, because if you have a character, people are racist against orcs in this world, because orcs like kill everyone. And not all orcs do this, obviously. And no, I'm not using this as an innuendo for real life. I'm seriously talking about D&D here. But yeah, orcs are generally viewed as evil, and there is racism against orcs in D&D. Like, a lot of the time, if I were to play an orc, my group would generally be more hostile towards me, because orcs in this world are evil most of the time. The fact that tieflings are in the player handbook and Asmar isn't is total BS. Dragonkin are also BS and were nerfed too hard to fill the fantasy for balance reasons. Because of this, they should never have been added. The half-dragon template from 3E Pathfinder is better. Warforged don't seem fantasy enough to be part of D&D. Warforged are fine, okay? D&D... Sorry. Warforged are completely fine. I love Warforged. They do seem fantasy enough to be in D&D. They're used by magic and science. Like, that seems fantasy enough to me. I think that's fine. Tieflings in the player handbook. I like that. I get to play tieflings now. Okay? It doesn't really matter. You can just look it up online. I'm going to go back to the Warforged thing. I loved Warforged. They should stay. Like, they're amazing. Tasha's was a mistake. Wizards can't balance things anymore. 6E is going to be disaster. I want Tasha's because I want to see if it really was a mistake. But from what I've read, it was not a mistake. If you add things, 6E is going to be disaster. Maybe, but I'm still going to play it. Wizards can't balance things anymore. Wizards can never balance things. Come on. Come on. They suck. Monks shouldn't exist in the game because weapons are commonly available and unarmed combat wouldn't be developed to that point where you can easily grab a pointy stick. So in a game about fantasy... So earlier you were saying Warforged aren't fantasy enough to be in D&D. But now you're saying monks are too fantasy. So which is it? Which is it? Do you want monks? Or do you not want monks? Or, what? I don't know. The point is here, just because it's not realistic, Warforged aren't realistic, they're still in D&D. Tieflings aren't realistic, they're still in D&D. Monks are completely fine, even if they're unrealistic. Barbarians shouldn't exist because we already have fighters. We don't need two classes running up and hitting things. Fighters don't run up and hit things, they run up and stab things, you fool. Also, they are different, they have different attributes, they have different feats. Barbs could be a fighter subclass, though. Well, yeah, they could, but, like, they're really different. Like, they're pretty different at the same time of being similar. So I think it's necessary they should have their own class. Warlocks shouldn't exist because the only reason people take the class is Eldritch Blast, one of the most broken spells in the game. We have sorcerers for other sources of magic besides studying it. I disagree. Eldritch Blast isn't broken. I think it's not very strong. I think it's 3d6. That isn't that strong when you get into higher levels. Like, maybe it's a little overpowered at the first couple levels. But, yeah. I don't take Warlocks. Hold on. Ryan! What? Why do you like Warlocks? Hold on. Why do you like Warlocks?
I just like the idea of them. Like, it has more like a backstory availability, because the guy has to be desperate enough to make a deal with someone. Also has similar roleplay stuff to a paladin who has an oath. A warlock has a pact that they have to follow in order to keep their power. Furthermore, they get their spells back on a short rest. Therefore, after the battle, they can just be like, alright, I'm going to take an hour-long nap. Plus, their cantrips tend to be pretty powerful as well. Furthermore, all their spell slots are max level, so it kind of like, that's another thing that's thematically as well as just cool. They can just cast as their max level spells as much as they want, not as much as they want, a limited number of times, a short number of times, then get them back after an hour. The thematic thing with that is that it kind of seems like they don't have full control over their power. It's kind of like overflowing. They're always at max level because they can't tone it down.
Okay.
So it's partly thematic, partly I like being able to just take an hour-long nap and then get all my stuff back. Not all my stuff, but a lot of my stuff back.
I'll have you know you were being filmed when you said that.
I figured.
Okay.
Furthermore, the Elvish locations allow for a lot of customizability. Like, there's one that lets you cast Speak with Animals at will, and one lets you cast Disguise Self, just whenever the fuck you want. Are you allowed to swear in this video? Alright, cool.
I don't know.
There's an Elvish location that you can have at level 2 called Mask of Many Faces, and you just always you can just cast Disguise Self just whenever, just at will.
Alright.
Or like Eyes the Runekeeper, you can read every language.
Can you?
Eyes the Runekeeper is an alternate location that says you can read all writing.
That's sick. Alright, so that's why you pick a Warlock.
Yeah, it's customizable within locations, and it has a lot of story purpose.
Alright, thank you for that anklet of knowledge.
Thank you. Good to see you.
I hate disadvantage and advantages. I get the benefits of fewer calculations, but I think they're just too strong. Just limit the biggest plus in them. Okay, no. Disadvantages and advantages are good. I like them. I hate the system where you have to use higher level spell slots to make spells more powerful instead of casters getting better at using them. It's the same system. You get better, you get more spell slots, you can use those spell slots. Like, it's very similar. Like, I know I'm only saying half of them, but I'm also running out of time. Homebrew and our PCs based on anime, video games, etc. are boring and not nearly as cool as the people doing it think they are. It depends. It depends. Some of them are really, really cool. And then some of them are boring. I agree. But yeah, a lot of them are really cool as well. So yeah, that would be my hot takes. This is the player's handbook. I'm running out of things to stall, so goodbye. And I'll see you next week for the video where I help my brother with apple juice filled pillows.